Hello, folks. Welcome to another episode of Stringer's Notebook. I'm your host, Joel Huerto, editor and publisher of OneManFastBreak.net. Before I dive into my notebook, please hit like, share, subscribe, and feel free to drop in a comment or two. Every opinion around here matters. Appreciate all the feedback. Today's notebook is more NBA prospects in the 2025 NBA draft. This is part two of an earlier episode of my 12 best prospects. This latest one will be about some highly touted prospects who could very well have solid NBA careers, but I have some doubts. I could be absolutely wrong about these guys. They could all pop, but I have some yellow flags. Not necessarily red flags, but yellow flags. These concerns are not too alarming, so it's not a stop or a stop sign saying don't draft these guys. Instead, my worries or concern are just enough to kind of give me pause before drafting them in the top half of the draft or in the lottery. So let's get moving. Here are the following prospects I'm not too high on. Starting with the two guys from Duke, Kon Knueppel and Khaman Maluach. Now, both guys got a ton of exposure during the NCAA tournament. They were the supporting cast around Cooper Flag. Kon Knueppel, I've seen his name consistently in the top 10. CBS Sports has him at 6. Yahoo Sports has him at 7. And ESPN has him at 8. So consistently top 10 can't miss prospect, Kon Knueppel. Some are even comparing him to Klay Thompson. I probably would slow down a bit there. Kon is not Klay Thompson. Kon only measured at 6'5" at the combine, which is somewhat of an eyebrow raiser because they listed him at 6'7" at Duke. So in 1 year in Durham, he got shorter. He also has short arms. He's got about a 6'6" wingspan. And whenever his name comes up, you got two things get highlighted: shooting and high basketball IQ. High basketball IQ is basically code for he lacks great athleticism. He lacks an in-between game. He doesn't have a consistent mid-range pull-up. Doesn't finish well at the rim. That probably contributes to why he tends to float around the perimeter. He's not too confident about his midi. He is a sniper. Superb, pure shooter. Made 40% of his threes in his lone season at Duke. I see him more as a connector than a creator. His lack of foot speed will make him vulnerable against quicker perimeter players in the NBA. I'm not overly concerned about his defense because he does compete on the defensive end. That is good enough for me. He works hard and competes on a defensive end, which is a good sign. My NBA comp for Kon is Joe Ingles. Again, Joe Ingles, high-level rotational player. Not a superstar, good role player. That's how I see Kon. That's why if I'm taking him in the first round, I think mid-first round is good enough for him, maybe even late first round. Now, let's get to Khaman Maluach. I was disappointed in his NCAA tournament, especially in the title game. He had 6 points and 0 rebounds. Biggest game of the year, and you can't grab a single rebound. That's a problem. For his one season at Duke, he averaged 8 points and 6.6 rebounds and 1.1 blocks. Not bad. Not great either. I mean, he's got great measurables. 7'2", 250, 7'6" wingspan. But when you watch him play, you can tell he's still raw. Doesn't know how to play basketball yet. I'm also not convinced he's a great athlete that most experts says or thinks he is. He only had a 24-inch vertical at the combine. It's obvious he's still learning the game. His shot needs a lot of work. He doesn't know how to score close to the basket when it's not 2 feet from the basket. He lacks any type of post move or touch. All he does is putbacks and catch lobs, which is great. If that's all you're asking him to do, that's great. But for a top 5, top 10 talent, I'm going to need more than that. And the one issue that I have with him is he doesn't have good hands. That's one of my prerequisites when I'm evaluating centers. All great centers have great hands. Maluach doesn't have great hands. To me, he looks like a project. And my NBA comparison is Mark Williams. Mark Williams also is from Duke. They kind of similar body type, similar roles at Duke, role players. And they tend to be one-dimensional. And I'm afraid Khaman could turn out to be a Mark Williams. Now, the next 2 guys I have on my list, I have Jeremy Fears and Jase Richardson. Fears give me Jordan Poole vibes. I don't know why. He's a work in progress as a point guard to me. He hunts for his shots too many times. When he drives to the basket, he goes in there without a clear plan. He's not an elite passer, which is a problem if he's going to be my primary ball handler. He can make basic passes, but he doesn't strike me as an elite passer. As a comparison, if Yegor Demon is an elite passer, he's nowhere near Yegor Demon. Also, Fears shot 28% from 3. Another yellow flag right there. If you're a scorer, if you're a combo guard, and you're shooting 28% from 3, that could be an issue. Fears is a bucket getter. He had some big-time scoring games against good teams. He had 20 points against UConn, 28 against Kentucky, although he was 2 for 11 from 3 in that game. He had 29 against Georgia, 22 against the eventual national champion Florida. So he can score the basketball. That's one thing he can do for sure. But if I'm looking at the 14 teams in the lottery, the Mavericks, the Spurs, Sixers, Hornets, Jazz, Wizards, Pelicans, Nets, Raptors, Rockets, Blazers, Bulls, Hawks, and Spurs again. You can make a case that none of those teams, outside of maybe the Wizards, the Nets, and the Raptors, are in dire need of a volume shooting combo guard with defensive liabilities. Now, the next guy I'll talk about is Jase Richardson, the son of former NBA player and slam dunk champion Jase Richardson. Jase isn't going as high as Fears on most mock drafts. He's slotted somewhere mid to late first round. But here's a question I have for teams looking at spending a middle round, first round pick on Jase Richardson. Do you view him as a starter? Because I don't see him as a starter. He looks like a backup, maybe a rotational guard. He measured at 6 feet tall at the combine. He's small. He doesn't have elite athleticism. Didn't get his dad's hops or his dad's dunking prowess, for sure. Now, what he did at Michigan was he did shoot the ball very well. He shot the ball well for Tom Izzo at Michigan State. Shooting was his forte. Michigan State had a well-balanced squad. They had only 2 players who averaged 10 points a game, I believe. Jase averaged 12.1. Doesn't rebound. He only averaged 3.3 rebounds. Not a playmaker. He only averaged 1.9 assists. So he basically his job was to put the ball in the basket. Shooting was his role, primary role. He's got a very good lefty stroke. In my lifetime, the vast majority of lefties can shoot. Lefties I've seen can shoot the basketball. So shooting is the least of my worries with Jase Richardson. He's too small to be a regular 2 or shooting guard, which means he has to play the 1 and the point guard. And I don't think he's a 1. He's okay, but I don't think OK will cut it. He'll be targeted because he's small. It'll be hard for coaches to play him extended minutes because of his physical limitations. Now, the next two guys on my list, I'm actually on the fence. I almost didn't want to put these two guys because I still like them, even though I have some issues or some yellow flags. The two guys on my list, Kasparas Jakucionis and Cedric Coward. Jakucionis, he's got really good basketball roots. Born in Vilnius, Lithuania. Lithuania has a rich basketball history. It's a basketball crazy country. Kasparas, he's too loose with the ball. He's too loose with the basketball. He can't consistently turn the corner against one-on-one defense. Struggles against contact. He is the typical European guard who lacks wiggle or quick twitch, which is required to be a full-time point guard. If you're going to be an elite point guard, you need to be twitchy. Now, ESPN has him pegged at number 10. Their Sky report says Jakucionis is a playmaking point guard with good positional size, which he does. He's 6'5". But he needs to sharpen his decision-making and cut down on his turnovers. Now, this is where the concerns get heightened a little bit, a little alarming. His last 4 games at Illinois, he had 6 turnovers against Kentucky, 6 turnovers against Xavier, both NCAA tournament games. In the Big Ten tournament, his last 2 games in the Big Ten tournament, he had 6 turnovers against Maryland and 6 turnovers against Iowa. That's 24 turnovers in 4 games from my point guard. That is an issue. The number one job of the point guard is to protect the basketball. If he can't protect the basketball, then he might be better suited as a 2. Depending on what you need, you might be able to stretch him as a 1, but he looks like a 2. Down the road, with potential starter minutes down the road, more like a 2. Now, Cedric Coward, that's when I had a really tough time evaluating because Cedric Coward had a very, very small sample size. He only played 6 games for Washington State. This is after he transferred from Eastern Washington. Started his career at Division III level. He played 6 games. Due to a shoulder injury, he had to miss the rest of the season. But he's had a meteoric rise on draft boards. And you can see why, because he has very impressive measurables. Came in, measured at 6'6" with a 7'2" wingspan. That's crazy length right there for a wing player. 6'6", 7'2" wingspan. Great positional size. And then he had a 38-inch max vert. So right there, that's a pretty good athlete to boot. And all the advanced metrics show that he has the ability to be a solid 3-and-D wing. He knows how to relocate, understands how to play off ball. Is a pretty good defender, and given his length, that should translate to the NBA. Coward is climbing on many draft boards. I'm even seeing him in the lottery. That's not out of the realm of possibility, him ending up in the lottery. Again, my biggest concern with him, or biggest concerns, or yellow flags, is the shoulder injury. Having a shoulder injury this early in your career might suggest that you may not be available all the time. So some teams might see that as an issue. And then the other one is he didn't play against elite competition. Again, 6 games at Washington State, tough to evaluate. And then he played at Eastern Washington, and then before then he was playing at Division III level. So seeing him against better competition is kind of foggy right now. So those are the players who I think still I would still take these guys. They have NBA talent. They should be slotted in on an NBA team. I just have some yellow flags, like I said, not red flags, yellow flags that would give me pause before I draft them in the top half of the draft. Otherwise, you can still find a spot for these guys. They're talented enough to make an NBA roster. So the draft is it's all highly subjective. When you do player evaluations, beauty is in the eye of the beholder. All it takes is one team to fall in love with you, and that should be enough. All it takes is one team to fall in love with these guys, these prospects, and they might land in a great spot.